We go. All right, so let's jump in. So tonight we're going to be basically catching up a little bit on some content. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the power of habit, right? Designing better, just basically being better at overall just life and life goals. So we're going to kind of discuss that and go over that this evening, right? Share a little bit of the updates of what's going on, but we basically want to understand and apply a positive habit loop in your life. So we're going to actually talk about that this evening, okay? I'm also going to replace the learning how to learn section, and I'm going to put it on video. So I'm actually going to pull the learning how to learn from a previous class, break it down into a chapter, and then that'll be kind of like a on your own sort of video to watch at home, okay? Just because it's an update, I think it's beneficial. If you're interested in finding out what the neuroscience says about, the current state of learning, then you could obviously jump in and get that information, and that's totally fine. If you're interested, and you should, and I recommend it, and when it posts, take time, but it'll be on your free time, okay? It'll be sort of an extra resource. What I'm gonna replace it with is this deck, which is gonna be realistic tips for working from home. And I think that's a little bit more relevant, right? So we're gonna cover that. We're gonna just kind of go over the basics, hierarchy of needs, and then that's gonna give us some time to basically go over computer and Adobe Illustrator, because this exercise is actually going to take us into seeing what the status is of your Adobe Illustrator programs. Okay, some of you have it installed, some of you don't. I want to know who is not installed yet, so that we can get the ball moving and basically move forward after we do the value-based design section. Okay, so I'm motivated. It's Thursday. I want to definitely push forward from there. But let's talk a little bit about just the positive habit loops and how this is going to apply into your life. Okay. So just out of curiosity, just basically on maybe a show of emoji thumbs, how many of you guys have a habit that you would like to change? You don't have to be specific, but you can show me a thumbs up. It's like, how many of you would like to basically try to, develop a new habit, replace an old one, or, maybe one that you're not happy with, and then just replace it with a new one? I think most of us, right? This deck is going to help with that a little bit, right? Some people are not sure if they want to change it. Try your best. Okay, yeah. So again, we all have habits, right? I think one of us, all of us, have the potential to basically do better, right? Do greater things. And so a lot of people always like to use an analogy of working out and going to the gym. I like to as well. But again, this applies to anything, right? But each and every one has a potential, right? A potential that you are trying to reach. You're taking this class because you want to reach another level in your art. You want to reach another level in your business. You want to reach another level in your personal skills, work skills. Everyone is reaching a little bit higher, right? So I'm pretty sure everyone has the potential, and they believe they have that potential, and that's why you're here, right? So glad that you signed up for that. And so habits is the way you can leverage it, okay? It's the easiest way to leverage that. And some people would always ask the question, like, what are you talking about? Why isn't habits a complicated thing? Well, if you really look at a couple of folks out there in time and history, they would argue that everything is habits, right? I have a 5-year-old. Most of my time is training him to get accustomed to routines and positive habits, right? Brushing your teeth, waking up, combing your hair, taking a bath, right? It's amazing how as those things that are so common to us, for a 5-year-old, it's a hassle. It is a huge pain. I don't want to do that. I'd rather do this. I prefer that. But eventually, it's going to be a habit that will be second nature, right? That you don't have to think twice about it. And so so basically over the last 20 years, scientists have learned a lot about this, right? And I'm just going to try to put this down in a super short, compact method, so that you get the practical tips on how to build this, right? And it'll be an assignment, and it'll be an exercise, and we're going to break that down, okay? On a quick side note, I will say that inside of Canvas, under the discussion post, if you go to discussion, the power of habit, okay, This will basically give you a brief overview as well, but definitely after session this evening, definitely take a moment to fill that in, right? Basically that discussion question I asked you, like how many of you guys have a habit? That's basically what this is, but in a Canvas online format, okay? So we kind of jumped the discussion, but for those 10 points, include that in your assignment, okay? But generally when we begin class, we'll always have a discussion question and to kind of get you thinking about the unit, and then we move on to the activity / lecture, which is what I'm doing now. So I kind of skipped this briefly to kind of get us caught up a little bit over the content in the first couple of weeks of school. But definitely take a moment to fill this out on your own so that you can share a little bit about what is the model of habit formation. So it'll be a good recall exercise, as I like to call it, okay? So going back to the deck, the research basically is saying over the last 20 years is that yes, 40% of what we do is dictated by a habit, okay? Probably a little bit higher depending it. Probably went up a little bit more too due to the pandemic, right? I know that I got into a really funky habit of eating like sweets during stressful times, right? So I was eating a lot of cookies, I was door dashing just about every place I can find that had like ice cream, cookies, or some type of dessert. It was pretty crazy. In addition to like just, healthy foods as well, just trying to balance it out. But yeah, I probably increased that number by another 10 or 15%, right? But they're really powerful, right? If everything we do every day is dictated by a habit, then that is huge. It's almost like half of what we do is habit formed. And so literally, researchers are saying that once you form a habit, they're typically impossible to eradicate, okay? And this is a curse in the case of bad habits, right? If you have a bad habit, it's gonna be really difficult to change it. But it can be a bit of a blessing when it comes to good habits, because if you developed it well, then it's not going to go away, right? That good habit is not going to be extinguished, right? So how do we like harness the power of a good habit, right? And help people realize their potential, okay? That's the challenge for all of us, including myself. Like, how do we like turn, this formula, this, model of formulating good habits, and how do we flip it and get to where we want to be as a designer? Because if a good designer is incorporating this field as a lifestyle, I feel like they're just as much successful, right? And basically, as professionals, I've been around a lot of artists, I've been around a lot of designers. The ones that do amazing things or interesting things are the ones that really bring this into their lifestyle, right? In one way or another. Whether it's drawing, whether it's painting, whether it's music, whether it's just these things show up in people's free times, right? Doodling, when you're in another class, they kind of show up in different ways. And sometimes it could even be just going to, botanical garden and taking photographs, right? Like you're building an image with your camera and using principles of photography, right? But in some way, you're putting that into your life. You're incorporating it into your life, and you're kind of capturing that and designing a space, or designing an image, or designing a photo. Okay, so it's kind of in the lifestyle from what I've seen. So how do we do this habit formation for lifestyle, right? Well, let's break down what exactly is a habit. Okay, and it's really consists of 4 parts, okay? 4 distinct components, okay? And we've probably seen this a few things in social media. The first thing is a cue, okay? Which is the trigger, right? It's basically what tells the habit to engage, go for it, light up this, turn on the engine, speed it up, go for it, right? So the first component is a cue, okay? And basically a cue is, for lack of a better example, it's like the stress that cues up a smoker to light up a cigarette, right? So an emotion, a place, a time, or a smell, or something in the sensory, right, environment can be a cue to fire away a habit. Does that kind of make sense? So if you drive a certain way and you always go to Starbucks and it's been very repetitive, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, even a month, eventually when you start going down that road, you're going to start to think about a cup of coffee at a specific location, right? If it's a certain time, a certain place, habits kick off according to places, right? So if you're a gamer and you like to game and you're always gaming in a certain part of your home, then guess what? You probably are not going to be successful designing or working in this class in the same location where you game, because you've cued yourself to relax or play a game and be entertained versus start building graphics. Does that kind of make sense a little bit? So spaces, environments, senses, input to the senses can be a cue or a trigger, okay, to a habit, okay? Once that happens, you get something called a routine, okay? The second part of the habit. And the routine is basically what the actual smoker does, right? This is when they actually start to smoke, okay? So they basically light up, they start to smoke, and they go through that process, okay? And that's pretty straightforward. Third part is the reward. So you got a cue, okay? Something, the stress, the environment, or the smell, or the place, or a combination of these things, cued it, triggered it. I do the routine, I start to smoke, or I go and buy the cup of coffee, or whatever the case. And then at the end, I get some type of reward, right? Some type of fulfillment. And this is where your brain actually goes through the hassle of imprinting, okay? So the reward is the dopamine hit, right? It's the positive feeling and the good senses that you're getting from once you complete the task, right? It's imprinting. It's literally like setting an impression onto your brain in the form of a chemical, which is dopamine, right? But it's also the craving, right? So the craving is at the heart of it, and this is what is the sort of the center of the habit. Okay, I like to think of it as a glue. The craving is the glue that holds the habit together. Okay, but what is the craving, right? It's kind of like the root of the habit, or if I had to show it to you in this graphic, it's basically the heart or the center of the habit. Okay, so think of it as like, two circles, right? There's the cue, the routine, the reward, that's the outer circle, that's the habit, that's what everybody pretty much knows, right? That's the loop. But in the bottom or in the center, we got the craving, the heart, the true root of it, which is simple, but also can be complex at the same time, right? It could be something that you've yearned, but you can't get it for for a specific reason. So you put this habit over that center circle, right? Or it's the heart, which is like the heart. It's who you are. It's what you truly want. And then the circle on the outside is basically you and your actions, your mind, your thoughts, and your will. Okay, does that kind of make sense a little bit? And so super fascinating stuff, right? But that's really the secret of this habit, right? If you want to develop a good habit, you got to get to the craving. You got to know what exactly are you craving deep down and bring it to your awareness, okay? And so that's basically what a habit does. And so if we want to change something, let's say, for example, the smoker, right? Then the cue is like the stress, the environment, right? The routine is obviously when I'm stressed out or situation happens, right? I'm triggered to light up a cigarette. I'm doing that routine, that task, right? And at the end, I get the reward or the joy from smoking it, which is like a sense of control, but it's not a true sense of control. It's a false sense of control, right? And then, but at the heart of it, you want peace, right? Like it's the stress that is the root or the cause of it, right? But what is it that we all want when we're stressed out? We want to be out of the stress. We want some peace from it. We want some peace of mind, right? Relaxed. But at the end of the day, you basically want peace of mind, right? So if you're looking for peace of mind, then we all want to basically find positive habits that can allow us to get to that, right? So the new habit is how we build this up. So today we're going to do an exercise. It's an assignment, right? And we're basically going to think a little bit about creating a new habit or a new positive habit loop, right? So let's say exercising. Okay. I'll use myself as an example, right? I've always wanted to exercise. I do, right? I do kind of do these workouts, but I think I'm what you call an ectomorph, which is kind of like you can like slim, narrow, can't do anything. I can eat all the pizzas, all the protein shakes in the world, but my body just says, sorry, you're just slim, right? Um, to a degree, right? But if I develop a positive habit, let's say, let's say I'm going to have to work out more or do more or increase my frequency of workouts, right? And I just want to start by just doing it regularly. Then I would just start the habit by saying, okay, well, what's my cue, right? What is this new habit that I want to do in this exercise? Well, I'm going to cue it. Well, maybe it could be as simple as an alarm clock, right? My cue is an alarm clock, and it's going to cue me in the morning to basically to wake up earlier, right? And obviously that routine is going to be me getting up, right? Doing some workout routine, whether it's a jog or run, right? Push-ups, whatever the case, right? But my reward that I'm going to give myself is basically having a break or some fun at the end of the week. I'm going to reward myself that way. And it might be even more immediate than that, actually. My reward would basically be, I don't know, satisfaction, more energy, heightened awareness. I'm just awake. Maybe the satisfaction is like I save a $5 from buying coffee because the work has basically woke me up in the morning, right? So that's kind of the routine, right? But I got to get myself down to think about the craving, right? And so it's really about the reward as soon as you encounter the cue, right? So that's kind of like the secret sauce, right? Like if you are cueing yourself to do something, most people are not successful because it's how they start, right? If you really think about it, if you want to set up a routine or any type of like positive habit, most people don't get through the starting part, right? And it's how you start. So if you were to zoom in on the how you start part, you actually will get some success out of it, if that makes sense, right? Like if you start a habit, most people don't tell themselves why they're doing it or what the reward's going to be at the end. And so if you kind of zoom in and don't see it so much as like the full habit, but more like yes, I have my habit, but really it's all about the reward or the cue and reward. If you're thinking about cue and reward simultaneously, why you do what you do, then you're going to get to a level where you can actually start successfully, right? That's really at the secret. Most people don't know how to start a habit well, and so you want to start really, really strong. Okay, so it's not easy, okay, because starting and getting through the first cycles of that is difficult. But if you can be consistent, then the consistency will get easier, right? And that's where it is, right? So it can be really, really transformational if you just kind of break it down according to the bad and new habit like matrix. So what does this exercise get down to? This is really the slide, okay? It gets really complicated, especially if you look at it in terms of the cue, the reward, the routines, and everything in there. So there's a lot of bells and whistles built into this. So if you want to zoom in on the deck, which is on Canvas, and take a look at this map, you can. But at the end of the day, there are like sub levels to cueing, to rewarding, and to routines that are built into it. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is just bring an awareness over the bad habit, right? The habit that you want to change, and how you're going to form it into a new habit, okay? So in this exercise, okay, in this particular assignment, basically what's going to happen is that there are 2 slides, right? Or actually 3, excuse me. 3 slides, but you're going to do 2 of the 3, okay? Because one is basically the objective / sample, okay? And basically on the left here, there's basically a bad habit, right? And I have an example of that, which is, what habit do you want to change? Well, I have a bad habit of staying up late, doing homework or something like that, or staying up late and gaming, whatever the case may be, right? we're going to basically replace this information by clicking onto the slide and making a change. Okay. So the way I kind of like to do things is that I like to kind of give you guys Google Slides, or give my students Google Slides, and then they make copies of the Google slide using their Real Hondo Google account or Gmail, right? And once they make that copy, and then they'll be able to fill in the information and make those edits on their own, okay? And I'll narrow it down and make it even easier for those folks to make copies and things of that sort. But basically what we're gonna do is that you're gonna replace the type here and get that going, okay? So what bad habit do you have? Well, I have a bad habit of staying up late doing college work, homework, whatever the case may be. Okay, I understand that. What's your cue? What triggers that? Well, normally if I get behind or I get really comfortable, then what makes me stay up late is that, I get stressed out or I get scared that it's due and I'm gonna fall behind. Okay, so you have a fear of falling behind in class, right? Or failing the class, as it were. Totally. All right. If that's the case, then what do you do? What's the routine? Well, I start cramming that extra work. I get all anxious. It's typically after 8 o'clock that happens, and then I stay up super late. But when it's done, I got no worries. I'm dead tired. I'm really, really tired. Okay. Well, at the heart of it, I would say, your craving is that you want to be relieved of the stress of it, right? And if you want to be relieved of the stress of it, then I would zoom in and say, well, why are you stressed out? It's like, well, I don't know. I just maybe, I have this situation, that situation, this situation, that situation. Oh, okay. So if that's the case, then that's really at the heart of the issue. While you're building the new habit, we should be addressing these other issues that are going on. Does that kind of make sense? So just by kind of zooming in on like what is the craving, you'll start to pull out a whole laundry list of other things that are kind of contributing to it, right? So that's actually a factor, right? Perfect example, bad habit I have is that I tend to stay late at work, right? Well, why do I stay late at work? It's like, I'm always performing really highly, I'm a bit of a perfectionist in some ways, and I just want to make sure things come out really well. Okay, well, what am I craving? What am I really craving? Well, I think I'm craving, if I really had to get honest with it, I'm craving the approval of other people, right? And it's kind of deeper than that too, because it's not the approval as if I'm going, I want the approval of my supervisor. It's almost kind of I just want people to like the work that I do. And that turns into well, wait a minute, why should you care if people like the work? It isn't the fact that you accomplished your goal enough. And it's or the fact that you have the satisfaction knowing that you're doing the thing that you love to do, or you're getting closer to the thing that you want. Why do you have to seek the approval of others, right? Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's a fear of falling behind and being overwhelmed. So maybe you're craving the relief of stress of the overwhelm, right? And why are you overwhelmed? It's well, I have a history of this, and that, and this happened during the pandemic, and that happened. It's so then it turns into kind of a sort of a healing process, as it were, right? And as long as you get to that level of craving, the awareness of the craving, I guarantee your mind starts to kind of figure out new ways to kind of replace the habit, because now you know what you ultimately want, what you truly want, and maybe it's completely different from what you thought. Does that make sense? Does that kind of make sense, guys? If it does, give me a little thumbs up emoji there to kind of set it up. And at the heart of it, the reason I'm doing this is because creativity does follow certain things. I would say, and I'm kind of cutting into the other deck, but let me kind of explain myself as to why we're doing this. Okay, creativity is an innate thing. We kind of talked about that, right? We said that creativity is something that we're all born with, and that the institution of education, traditional education, sort of eliminates that, right? Or sort of trains you not to use it as much. So at the end of the day, the best part of ourselves when we're younger is sort of trained away, right? Now, if you're really young, you don't got bills, you don't got this, you don't got that. You're pretty much feeling at your maximum, right? like life is great, right? I got all my needs met, right? I know mom and dad or my caregivers giving me those needs, but I'm getting those needs, right? And so if you feel like your needs are being met, then you're going to feel what they call self-actualized. And this is where we cut into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which turns into like this crazy thing. I always wondered why my most talented artists and designers, as talented as they were not financially successful, or they couldn't do the work when it came to a work environment. I was like, what's going on? Like, you're so talented in front of me when you're like calm, but what's going on? Like, why aren't you not in this, right? I have a theory about this, and I think it comes down to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. How many of you guys have heard of Maslow's hierarchy? Give me a little thumbs up emoji. But kind of want to see who's ever heard of it, and maybe there. Okay, let's break this down. Okay, because this is where it gets really interesting, in my opinion. So at some point, right, in all our lives, we have a certain set of needs. Okay, and so Maslow is this sort of famous, psychologist, if I understand correctly, that basically wanted to know like what makes people the best part of themselves. And he did a study, and he basically turn of the century did a study out in the North America, and I believe he did a study of a particular Native American group of people, tribe, and he sort of monitored them, right? And he's like, how does this tribe, right, in its quote primitive level, get to survival and self-expression and art, and basically builds this culture to what are the building blocks that got into this level, right? As a people, as a community, right? And he basically charted it, and he broke it down into these certain needs, okay? And the bottom one, okay, the most basic need, he says that we start off with is the body, right? Your physiological needs. So what do you need in your physiology, okay? Well, let me mark it over here. The very bottom over here, you basically need air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat, a place to sleep, shelter. You need to sleep, you need clothing to keep you warm or cool, and you got to reproduce, right? You have an innate ability to reproduce. So at the core of it, right, Maslow is saying that you need these basic things to be the best part, the highest level of yourself, or as I like to define it, the most creative part of yourself, okay? Your highly creative state, right? Which I believe creativity, when expressed, is self-actualization, okay? Because, let's break it down. Let's analyze this, right? If you don't have that physiology, you're going to be impacted, right? So I get really ticked off, right, when when I meet other teachers and they're like, man, the student's not doing this and that, and I'm like, well, what's their situation like at home? Like, why are you asking me that? Well, what if there's a problem with food? What if there's a health issue due to the pandemic? What if there's a shelter issue? What if they actually moved 2 or 3 times in 1 year because of outbreaks in an apartment? You know what I mean? Like, that's going to not make you a good student, let alone a creative person, right? So that's going to impact you. Okay, great. So kind of makes sense. Next step is safety, okay? If you don't feel safe, right, then you're not going to be able to meet it. So if you get your physiological needs, right, food, shelter, clothing, water, then your safety needs need to be met. Do you feel safe where you're at? Do you have personal security, right? Not a bouncer per se, right? But do you feel safe? Is there, in your area, in your home, in your community, are there things in place where you feel secure, right? Do you have employment, right? If you don't have financial security, you're not gonna feel as creative, right? You're gonna kind of feel a little stressed out about making the bills, right? Do you have resources? Do you actually have access to resources? I don't know where to get information about this. I don't know where to get this, shot for the vaccine. I don't know if the information I'm getting is correct or even true. How do I know it's safe? The resources are not available to you, right? How do I get to my counselor? So if those things are not being met, those basic resources, health, right? If you're not meeting your basic health needs or even or property, that's the safety of the location where you're at, that's impacted. So Maslow says you have to have safety needs met. And if you have your physical, right? If the body is met, physiological needs, if you're feeling safe, if you're having personal security or some type of health being met, right? Your health is being met, then now you're ready to build relationships. Now it's not about me. Now I can connect with other people, right? And so if I can connect with other people, now I can build relationships, friendships, I can build family relations, I can have a sense of connection with others and ultimately intimacy, right? So I start to build off of that. And some of us have seen this, right? Like sometimes if the first two blocks on the bottom are skewed or not met, sometimes that third one turns into kind of like a need for safety, right? So, sometimes relationships turn into I'm with you because I need to feel safe, or maybe I'm with you because you're meeting my financial needs, or maybe I'm with you because you're meeting some type of need, physiology, whatever the case may be, right? And then it starts to get skewed. Now we're going down instead of up. So that's being impacted. So if you're not, if your safety needs and physiological needs are not being met, then somehow in relationships, we're using that to kind of feed it, if that makes sense. And so then you're not, and some people feel that too. They sense well, I don't think you're really with me because you love me. I think there's other things, right? And so that could be a factor in as well, okay? But that's the third level, okay? If you're getting relationship, friendships, a sense of connection or belonging, then your respect, your self-esteem, your status or recognition, strength, your level of freedom or your sense of freedom, how you feel, is being met, right? You're gonna have a greater level of esteem for yourself, for others, right? And when you feel that you can be confident in yourself and you feel like you're free to do what you can, and all your needs, your relationships are being met, physiological needs, your safety needs, then the desire to become the most that you can be reached, which is self-actualization, right? And so the creativity, I believe, comes through that, or at least your peak level of creativity, right? Because let me ask you guys, how many of you guys have felt, well, let's see, how many of you guys, when you were creating and felt the most creative, how many of you guys worried about any of the stuff below the blue triangle? While you were creating, you felt worried about the stuff below, Probably none, maybe a few of us, right? But let's ask the opposite. When you were creating, how many of you guys were not worried about any of those things below? You can raise your hand. Okay, I would say a few of us, right? And so, or you can give me a little thumbs up emoji, right? So you're confident, you feel good, you feel safe, you feel like everything's being achieved, right? Now, and don't get me wrong, sometimes you can use your creativity to get something from a certain level, right? But it almost feels like a challenge or a bit of a chore, if that makes sense. It turns into kind of like a task. And so I really think that self-actualization that should be met, your creativity, your highest levels of creativity, that those basic needs below should be met, right? That is why colleges like Rio Hondo, they give the food pantry, right? Where we offer food to students and may not have access to food or money that week to buy food. That is why we offer a space on campus with security so that you feel safe. That is why our teachers and students are trying to build clubs, build relationships with your students, right? That is why we want to recognize you and give you guys recognition for the work that you're doing, right? And at the ultimate, we want you to be actualized, right? So if a good school, a good institution, even a small group is successful, they're doing those bottom levels in some way, shape, or form so that you get to the blue on top, okay? Does that kind of make sense a little bit? And so so that's really at the heart of it. We're trying to get to this level so that you guys can be the best part of you, who you are, but you got to have those basic needs met, okay? So when it comes to online stuff, it does get a little tricky because I don't know if you're in a safe place at home. I don't know if you're in a distraction-free environment. I don't know these things, right? But I can point you in the direction so that you actually get to that level, if that makes sense. I can point you in that direction, okay? And so that's really what these designer therapy unit is about. It's just kind of getting everyone on the same page on, okay, if you really want to do this design thing successfully, let's start with just being aware of your bad habits, right? Let's just be aware of where you are in those habits, because we're coming out of this pandemic, or at least, trying to get back to some type of normal or new normal. Okay, let's be aware of what those habits are. Let's try to get to what the cravings are, what you're really truly wanting, and why those habits are happening. And let's just imagine what a new habit could potentially look like, so that you're setting yourself up for success. Does that kind of make sense? A side story, I had a student maybe like a couple years ago, when I first started teaching on campus, right? I did a couple of semesters at a high school campus teaching. It was like an after-school dual enrollment, right? Where the college comes to the school to make it easier for the student to access the college class, right? So I was the guy that they sent, and it was fine. And then I decided to come to the college and do the in-person college in the science building, right? And I had a student, and poor guy, he had some issues, personal issues, and basically every time he came close to my classroom, he would just get really stressed out. And as soon as he sat down, he was almost like a nervous wreck. And for I don't know how many days, but he basically turned the whole arriving to the classroom, sitting down, into a trigger towards a mental health issue that he was struggling and dealing with. Does that make sense? So he literally would get so stressed out by sitting in that chair while everyone is self-actualized, right? He actually had other issues that were not dealt with, which would fall under the esteem section. He had some relationship issues, family issues, that were not being met. So he couldn't get to the top of the pyramid. And one day he just got up, he walked out, and I chased him, and I was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And he basically starts to cry, and he says, like, "I want to kill myself." And I'm like, "Oh my God, like what? Like, hey, like stop, time out. What's going on?" And I literally spent an hour just talking to him, because he was saying that, that he was having a bad time. This is pre-pandemic, okay, before the pandemic. And he was having a really difficult time with relationships, families, and it was just a struggle. And when it got to the evening, he was so tired from his day classes that those thoughts, those issues started to kind of come out, right? He couldn't hold them in, okay? He was tired. He didn't get enough sleep. He was struggling emotionally. Those pillars were starting to crumble, and he couldn't get to the top of the pyramid because of the sleep, because he was having a relationship. It was because he had self-esteem issues. Does that make sense, guys? So I spent an hour. I talked to him. I said, "Look, you got to get some sleep. You got to do this. You got to reconnect with your family. You got to, remove the toxic people in your life. This is what you're craving, okay? But the trigger is this classroom, so I recommend you don't do a night class anymore." And he's like, "All right, cool." And we dropped the class, and he removed the trigger, and he's doing pretty good, right? But after that, it was kind of like, what happened? And so I intuitively believed it was because of those needs that were not being met. And if I could just, if I could rewind and do it over again, I would have said this to him in the beginning of class. I would have mentioned the habit formations, and I would have just brought it to the attention. And therefore, that's why I created this unit. So that experience, that encounter created this designer unit 1, because I felt that it was necessary, because I was starting to see those issues show up, right? And so, and we still finished the class, even hitting those goals. But I totally think it's because we sat down and we had a family meeting, like we're doing right now, and we're talking. And I said, "Look, if you want to do this, this is the stuff you got to watch out for, and this is what you need to understand, okay?" And so after that, I saw nothing but success, right? My students were like, "Cool, great, awesome, gotcha," right? We were able to have more enriching conversations, right? We were able to kind of hit stuff. I got to see, right? Like I got to see what they were struggling with. And so I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm going to keep that in mind. And when I see you, when we talk, I'll be aware of that," right? So you can be as transparent as you want in this, because I'm reading it and no one else is reading it. So you can be as open as you want. You could be really open, or you could be concept there, right? However, if there's a cry for help, right, then we're going to intervene. We're going to seek services. We're going to connect you with a counselor, right? And we're going to deal with this. Okay. So, so if you feel like if you're gonna be more triggered this semester to the level that you might be distracted because it's nighttime and you're not getting enough rest, or you're overworking and doing too many hours, I highly recommend you might reconsider doing the day classes instead of the night classes. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, I'm not kicking nobody out, but you know where you are, you know who you are, you know what your limits are and your boundaries and where your breaking points are. But if you're gonna get triggered, or if bad things happen after this class, you might want to reconsider and look at your needs and your habits and ask yourself, is there something going on at this time of night in the place where I'm sitting right now watching this class that's triggering me? And if the answer is yes, then you can participate in redesigning it in this exercise and say, I'm going to do this while I'm in your class, professor, or just drop the class and do the day class, and you'll be good. Okay, because now you're protecting yourself and you're doing what's good for you, because ultimately you're going to get to a level of self-actualization. Does that make sense? And so a lot of students are kind of like, why are you doing this unit? And let's just get into the technology stuff. We do, but I'm trying to upgrade your mental technology, man. I'm trying to upgrade your biological technology, this powerful computer called the brain, that is doing way more processing at night than it is during the day. And that's why I also try to just throw in a little bit of the learning how to learn information, so that you can see the connection. But I'm gonna add a video, you can watch that on your own time, and you can see how the brain operates, right? Because when you sleep, your brain actually does a lot of things after you take classes. So all these things are interconnected. And so a lot of students just go, man, I can't do this. Or in their careers, they realize, oh, why can't I do my job, or I don't feel as creative? I would argue it's because there's something happening on this screen, on this pyramid, that's going haywire. And if you address those things, you're back up again. You feel like fulfilled, and you have everything that you feel you can accomplish, right? And I'm kind of speaking by personal experience too. If you're not charging enough for your jobs, you're gonna one of these bricks are gonna fall. And so that's why the next unit is called value-based design, because once we level the field, we know exactly what's going on. Now we say, okay, let's talk about the money, because that falls under safety needs, and I think that's an important feature to have. Okay, does that kind of make sense, guys? So it all comes back to this, actually. Interesting fact before, yeah, definitely. Thank you, Louis, I appreciate that. Interesting thing about this pyramid, and then we'll take a little bit of the time to do some exercises and things like that, but or maybe we'll just move on into the next one. But side note, Maslow left something out in this pyramid. There's a really great article that said that remember when I said that he went and observed Native American tribes, our indigenous brothers and sisters out there in the world? He said that that the thing that he did not include, or did not mention, or felt was not necessary, was the after self-actualization, the tribes actually added another triangle on top. Okay, so imagine this triangle in the middle cut down. Okay, so right about here. So imagine there's another triangle going on right here, okay, that I'm drawing in. He said that there was one more thing that he didn't put in the triangle, in the pyramid, and it was the community actualization. What does that mean? The tribes, he said that the tribes were indicating to him that once one is self-actualized and is the best person that they are, or the highly regarded or person in the tribe, then their job was to now actualize the rest of the tribe. In other words, there was another missing part called community actualization, which was now the community that needs to be actualized. So if I'm good, I'm not keeping this alone. My job is to actualize the rest of the community in addition to it. So spreading it. which I think is really important, right? So, but he kept it to self because he felt like it was only important to have self, and it was more about the individual rather than the group whole. But in reality, I think that was very important, because if you're self-actualized, you should be actualizing your community, empowering your community, and bringing them up to that same level, because when the community wins, everyone wins, right? And so, and it just keeps the strength of the pyramid strong. So yeah, that's another reason why I do what I do, because I believe that if we can get everyone self-actualized, then it's everyone's responsibility to actualize the lives of other people and share this content, this knowledge and information, and enforce them, whether it's your friends, family, or work co-workers, or relationship or significant other. The community becomes better. Okay, so that's the last thing I want to add on to that. So that's really, really important. Okay, all right. Any questions about this? I know I hit you with a lot in like 30 minutes, but I always try to give you some of that rich content while everyone's awake. So there's that, okay? All right, if that makes sense, you can give me a little thumbs up emoji, and let's get practical and let's kind of break down the exercises, okay? Thank you guys, appreciate it. So when it comes to these exercises, what's gonna happen is that, yeah, we are going to basically make a copy of this document, okay? It's not due till next Thursday, okay? But we're gonna basically make a copy of this document, and you're going to enter your information, okay? And I'll modify the links and I'll get everything going, but it's very, very simple, right? You're entering you're basically clicking onto it. If you're gonna need your Rio Hondo Google account to access it. But you're basically going to enter your first name, your last name here by just simply double clicking the text box, okay? And then you're going to replace this. I have a bad habit of, by clicking the next text box here, and type in what you want to change. So it's like a Google Doc, it's like a Word document, like anything else. You're basically going to replace the information with your old habit, and then you're going to click onto your Q trigger where it says enter text here. And you're basically going to try to identify what your trigger is, what is triggering you to do that habit, or what you believe or think it might be. What is the routine that you do, right? So if the Q is, 8 p, stressed out after 8 o'clock, or 4 hours of sleep, whatever the case may be, then the action is going to be, the routine is, well, I end up eating a bunch of cookies when I get stressed out, or I procrastinate doing my work. And then what's the reward? Well, I'm stress relieved, or, I'm stress free, relaxed, relieved, whatever the case may be. Sense of security, I feel, really calm, whatever the case, right? And then at the center is the craving. Like, what do you think you're trying to crave? And those things are a little bit more rooted, right? What is it that you're yearning? What is it that you want to have? What is this feeling or the sense that you're trying to get to? Is it a sense of accomplishment? Is it, stress relief? Is it health? Is it, freedom? Is it love? Whatever the case, it gets a little bit deep at that point. So you're going to fill that in, okay? And then replace that with a new habit. Like, what are some things you would do to change the trigger? And what are some things you would do to change the reward and routine, right? And just bringing that awareness is going to make it really, really beneficial for you guys. Okay. The practicing part is the other thing, right? Because planning is one thing, doing is the other. And I don't have a camera on you at all times to see if you're doing it. So you have to hold yourself accountable and try it out and see. And maybe in a couple of weeks or so, we'll check in and say, okay, and see how everyone's doing. Okay. So it's pretty straightforward. And you're going to do that for 2 habits. So you're going to identify 2 habits and create a new habit from there. Okay. Does that make sense for everybody there? Okay. And does anyone want me to also, again, this is not due till Thursday. So does anyone want me to kind of go over Google Slides briefly and just kind of see how to create a copy of the documents and how to go through that process? Okay. A couple of us did. Okay. Well, it's very straightforward, but basically when you click onto the document, if you go up to File, okay, and yeah, the document is on Canvas and inside of Activity. So let's actually backtrack a little bit and kind of run you through that process, okay? So let's take a peek here. If I go back to Canvas, then the exercises will always be under the activity, okay? So assignments are activities. So if I go back to home, and I look under week 1, okay, there's discussion. There will be always an activity followed by a video of the recording, depending on how many number of days we're working on it. And so it will be under activity, habit formation, exercise. Okay, so let me go ahead and mark that here. So it'll be under activity, habit formation, exercise. We're gonna click onto that. Okay, and right here next to it, it's gonna say what the objective is, the number of points. So the objective here is that we're going to create individual work habits and design skills using the habit change worksheet. And from here, you can basically click here for presentation link and exercise, which will open up the presentation. And then from here, you can totally, you're gonna go up to file, and I'll make it even easier. I'll pre-program it so that you don't even have to go up to file, but I'll just show you just in case it's uncopied. But you're basically gonna go to file, and over here where it says make a copy, okay? You're gonna click onto that, and you're basically going to make a copy of the entire presentation, okay? So make a notation of that. So it's going to be make a copy, entire presentation, and it's going to ask you to log into your Rio Hondo Google account with password in order to make that copy. And that's the point. You want to be able to make a copy with your Rio Hondo Gmail. You could use your personal Gmail if you want, because you're posting it onto your account in Canvas anyway. I would just say if you're doing any type of sharing, if you could please, when you turn it in, just click onto the share button. And when you share your link, you're basically going to copy the link and post it onto Canvas. So where it says copy link, you'll basically copy the link, okay? And when you copy that link, you will go back to activity, start the assignment, and where it says comments or text entry or website URL, whatever works, whatever gets the link to me, then you're basically going to go into the entry field where it says website URL and basically edit and paste, or you can right click and paste on your mouse, or you can go up to the edit menu in your browser and say edit menu paste, whatever the case, or Command C for Mac, or Command V like Victor to paste, Command C to copy, or Control V like Victor to paste for those folks that like to copy using their PCs. And you're going to submit the assignment by including the link, okay? So that's how you kind of go through that process. And again, if it gets a little confusing, you can always find the resources on orientation. I also have a small video in the orientation section that shows where you can find the how to make a copy of the video. So I do go over this again, and you can you can find that in the how this class works button page. And there's a little field here at the bottom that says how-to videos and how to make a copy of a Google slide on your account, and how to generate a link for sharing and turning in your assignment. Okay, so it's this section here. So those videos are available to you if you ever get lost, or if you want to review how to make that copy. Okay, does that kind of help everybody for the most part? Okay. Very, very cool. All right, and that helps out. All right, so that is sort of the process, and you'll kind of see in the class that I do a lot of Google Slides. and copies and this and that. And that's how I kind of like to download content. And we'll also create a Google slide where you're going to write about the principles of design. So we'll be living in Google Slides for a good minute, putting together all the pieces. I'm getting a couple of questions here. Can you put a twist on our Google slide, like be creative with fonts and background? Sure, you can redesign it, no problem. I mean, it's a graphic design class. So, I mean, there's no extra credit for it, but you can totally redesign it. Sure, feel free. You're more than welcome to do that, okay? Is it due tonight? Nope, not due tonight. It's due next week, just to give everybody some time to put it together. We still have some folks trying to add the class. So, so I'm giving them literally everyone extra time to do it, but the due dates do get a little bit narrower, but average about a week to a week plus is really how the assignments get turned in, okay? And I think we have all the questions there, okay? Yes, it is posted on Canvas, and so you have those available as well, okay? Is this making sense overall, and is this helping everybody out? Okay, perfect, thumbs up emoji there. All right, perfect. All right, so I will entrust you guys to work on this document on your own time, and you can put that together, and we'll talk briefly before we take a break. We're gonna talk about the realistic tips for working from home, okay? So this is helpful because this is gonna kind of lead into your Adobe Illustrator and your home setup, okay? And the objective for this, and this is actually more like tonight's stuff, is that we're going to basically get your space organized wherever you're at, and we're gonna take a picture of it. I wanna see your workspace, and I really wanna see if you're creating a distraction-free environment, okay? And so it can be low budget, it can be high budget, right? But we wanna basically create a productive and organized workspace using your tools, using the things that are around you, okay? So it could be anything, it could be everything, but that's gonna be the breakdown here. So, and that's gonna be our exercise for this evening, okay? We're gonna get organized. And I wanna take a look at your spaces. And I should be having this over here. There should not be two different objectives. They should be one in the same. There you go. Very cool. Now, so we're gonna look at that, right? And rewinding, we talked about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And there's even a digital version of this too, which is really interesting because the digital world is a very intimate part of our lives. So when it comes to devices and computers and things like that, there's actually a pyramid or the digital pyramid of needs, which is crazy, right? Because I don't think digital has to be that intimately connected to us, although some people will argue it can be. I see it as a tool. Some people see it as like life, and we can have a conversation about that for a while too, right? I think it's more a tool than it is like a means in my regard, just because there's, well, human beings are very complicated people, and this stuff is like 20 years old, which is really relatively young in the world of tech. So there are a couple things that we still need to work on, right? Like social media, for example. It might not be as reality-based as we think. But just so that you know, there are some basic needs that computers and devices have. And I think we know this, right? Starting with the bottom, if you need food, shelter, clothing, you need a computer, you need Wi-Fi, you need energy, and you need power, right? Which kind of comes with the physical space that you're working with. So you're gonna need those basic needs. Now, if you don't have a computer, then the college does offer different situations to support you in that, okay? What do I mean? If you have a situation where the Wi-Fi goes out, then for whatever reason, then we offer like Wi-Fi routers where you get internet, right, to students. So, you know, professor, I don't have internet because my bill went out. Okay, that's great. You could totally get a Wi-Fi hub checked out from the library. Okay, professor, my computer is, my screen is damaged, my computer's shot, I can't afford a computer. We have loaner computers available for those folks that need one, okay? So we have these resources available. We don't have dozens, but we have enough to cover emergencies, okay? So if you have an emergency regarding your technology, hardware, okay, Wi-Fi, the bottom level, then we can support you in that, okay? And we can back you up so there's no issues, okay? Professor, my computer's not working because I can't see it and it's a gaming system. We can't match your gaming system, right? Unless you're in like an animation or gaming class, right? We're gonna match according to what you need by the Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Creative Suite programs, okay? So, which is decent hardware, decent computers. After that, everyone has a Rio Hondo email, right? Included. It should be free for you guys. And so that email is your safety needs, your security, your secure communication tools. Those are the things that you need. So everyone's got a Rio Hondo email. Everyone can email their teachers. Everyone's got G Suite, which is Google Apps built into their Rio Hondo setup. You got the stuff you need to work like Google Slides in this class. So those are the basic needs, your safety needs, the needs of your digital, right? You're safe in the class if you're working off your Google Slides because it's free. So I'm going to work there. Okay. We're not doing much on Facebook, and we're not doing much on WhatsApp. However, Alexa did use the GroupMe app, and I think that is where she's building some type of like belonging in the course / study group. So she is meeting that need in the GroupMe app. So if you guys remember last time, there was a little post, a little announcement Alexa made where it was like, hey, if you guys want to sign up on the GroupMe, questions, issues regarding this is a great, use this app. That would fall under the sort of like building connections, building relationships, belonging within the class. So that app sort of meets that need. So thumbs up to Alexa for looking up GroupMe. That I'm probably going to thank you for posting the link there. That's going to help everyone kind of communicate and be connected as well. Okay, so that's really helpful. What James is doing in the beginning of class by kind of using Zoom to use gaming, that's a way of building belonging, interaction, right? It can be intense at times, but we're working on it, right? So that's another way of doing that. So he's using an outside site, bringing it into Zoom to build belonging. We're seeing that kind of happening already, which is great. That means that you guys got your bottom 2 levels being met. Now, esteem needs is where we get into the Instagramming and we get into social media where we don't really go because, we're starting to, right? I think Alexis has her business, right? And so, she's like, hey, we want to support you, share your link. We want to see what's up. Some of you guys have businesses, and that's where that starts kicking in. So when you start supporting each other's businesses or designs or reinforcement or follows for like things that you may potentially purchase or whatever, now you're hitting the esteem needs and supporting supporting each other, right? And that's a positive one, right? So that's awesome. So and then of course at the end, the self-actualization are the tools that create. And I would basically add in things like Adobe Illustrator, right? So that's like the culmination of it, the stuff that builds graphics, content, images, things of that sort. So you kind of see there is a bit of a hierarchy, and we're trying to match the two, right? So I think we're doing a pretty decent job in the digital needs of the student. I think we're doing, we don't have control over your needs at home. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm bringing this to the forefront, especially with online. I can control some of this. If you were in my classroom on campus, I could feed you. I could buy a $5, $6 pizza and give you some water, right? I can give you food for that 2 or 3 hours. I can make you feel safe in the classroom with our campus. I can give you a sense of belonging when you come into the room. I could give you strength and freedom when you're in my classroom, which gives you self-actualization. The pandemic sucks because it took it all away. Does that make sense? And so now you have to do it for yourself. So in this class and really moving forward in your businesses, in your personal projects, fight for this and advocate for yourself and try to maintain this as best as you can. Okay? Sound good to you guys? Okay. So I know I went off a little bit on a tangent there. So we got you there. Okay. So let's get practical here. How do we design the workspace? What are some ways that we can do this? There's a lot of different ways to do it. when it designs your workspace. Doesn't matter what it is. You got a laptop, you got a room that's distraction free. Maybe you got an extra screen. You don't need it, but you can. You got a place to put some books, write some things. You got a mouse to draw or a Wacom pen, maybe some light over you. If you got something basic like this, you're fine. If you got something that kind of looks like that, you're fine. Just as long as it's a space where it's distraction free, it's great, okay? You are totally fine in terms of like designing that space and putting it together. I put a couple of videos there where you can get low budget, but I do want to show you a little bit of the space here, which is designing your workspace, which is the ergonomics, how you sit when you sit at your computer. So let me go ahead and play this video for you. We'll take a look at just what are some really helpful things to make sure that you don't get disable yourself from too much using the computer, i.e. Slouching your back or carpal tunnel from using your mouse too much. These are some helpful tips that I recommend in general when it comes to building your workspace. So this is about 5 minutes, and this is ergonomics on how you should set up and work in your space, okay? So you should see a full screen, okay? And you should see this video, and I'm gonna play it now.
Here's your desk, your chair, monitor, keyboard, mouse, phone, a plant? Sure. Problem is, your desk isn't really built for you. It's for anyone. Spending 8 hours a day reaching, slouching, or craning can lead to pain. At least that's what John Sinkay from the Hospital for Special Surgery says.
I do say that every day.
So he's here to, well, he can tell you.
I'm here to show you how to set up your desk ergonomically so you can avoid pain later on in life. Step 1, adjust your chair. The average desk height is 29 to 30 inches tall. For some, this could be too tall or too short. That's where your chair comes in. The first thing you want to do is adjust the height. When you do, make sure your elbows are bent to 90 degrees. So if a person's feet are not touching the floor, this could become an issue. So we're going to give her a footstool. If you don't have access to a footrest, we recommend using a ream of paper. Step 2 is adjust your monitor. The tip is to have the monitor close enough, about arm's length, so you're able to read without having to strain your eyes or to bend forward and adjust your posture. So what you want to do is raise the monitor up till the top of the screen is eye level. If your monitor is not adjustable in height, use your reams of paper. Much better. If you work from 2 monitors, consider how you use them. If you have a primary monitor, you want that directly in front of you. If you use both monitors equally, you want them lined up so you are in the middle of the 2. For a laptop, you want to use a kickstand to raise the screen up to the proper height. Then you can attach an external keyboard and mouse to it. Step number 3 is to mind your mouse and your keyboard. Where your hands end up is where your keyboard should be. Your mouse should end up right next to your keyboard. You want to move from your elbow instead of your shoulder to prevent overuse or strain or pain. The key is not to reach for your tools. Step 4 is to position your phone. You want to put the phone on your non-writing side so you don't have to cradle it to your shoulder. This could eventually lead to neck pain. If you're on the phone a good portion of your day, you want to consider using a headset. That way your hands are free to write down anything or to type on the computer. Step 5, move. After 10-15 minutes, we all begin to slouch in our chairs. So here are some basic exercises you can do while sitting in your chair. The first exercise is a chin tuck. The second exercise is for your upper traps. You're going to do a basic stretch where you bend your head to one side and then gently pull for a little more oomph. The third exercise is called a scapular retraction. You basically are going to squeeze your shoulders back. The fourth exercise is for your lower back. This is what we call a pelvic tilt. The most important thing you want to do is get up out of your chair every hour. Get up and walk. Get something to eat. Get something to drink. Just get up.
John, are we done?
Yeah, we're good.
Great.
All right. How many of you guys have ever seen anything like that? Curious to know about that. Okay. Some of us have, some of us haven't. Thankfully, I've not had issues with my wrist. I have seen good friends, designers, literally do 8 hours of mousing a day to a level without stretching, without breaking, right? Maybe one time during lunch, and they ended up with wrist braces because of the pain and discomfort, right? They were not doing the stretches and getting up and doing the wrist pulls and things like that. Like, if you guys are going to be designers, you should be protecting your number one tool is your hand. Because can you imagine if you were to break this thing, with how much work you may miss if you didn't have your hand, right? It's kind of crazy. Like, no one thinks about it, especially as designers. But we had a conversation, and I was like, when I was working back in my working days, and the art director said, you know what, I really should put insurance on my hand because that's my money maker. If I, like, after my creativity, my brain, it's my hand. It's like, and if my body's not good, I should really have an insurance policy for disability, long-term disability, if my hand ever gets bad. I'm like, okay, I mean, this is the reality. So before we kind of go into that mode, and how many guys found that useful? Just a show of thumbs up emoji there. Okay, or hands. Okay. All right, awesome. Okay, I'm glad you found that useful. You have to do that at home, okay? And just a couple of things before we go to break, because we're almost hitting an hour, a little bit over an hour, and I want to be a good example. Here's a couple of things we'll talk about in terms of creating a routine, okay? Create a routine. So we talked about bad habits, right? We're hitting like the number one goal. Okay. If you don't have a desk, get one. I mean, whatever the case may be, if you got to build it, hack it, scrounge it, go for it. I don't want anyone working on their couch. If you're taking Illustrator and you're on your couch, I mean, no way, dude. Like, it's not gonna work. So we need a place to sit, and we need a chair, and we need a desk. So no couches, okay? If we're hanging out on a couch, I'm gonna find out real quick in this exercise who's on a couch. Okay, relax, take a break every hour. We talked about that. We saw that in the video. All right. Dress, if you're working at home, dress up. If it's got to be a work shirt, get the work shirt. If it's shorts, that's fine, but get dressed up. If you're looking funky, dude, don't do that. Your brain needs to feel like it's in work mode, and we built habits. You've been going to school, you've been getting up, and your routine's been get up, hopefully take a shower, get dressed, go to school. That's a hard habit and routine to break, as we saw in the pandemic. And it totally messed with people's heads a little bit. So dress up, try to get into that rhythm a little bit, right? See if you can, put on a fresh shirt, and when you Zoom and get online with me, it helps, right? Wash your face, things like that do help. Okay, take a shower if you can, who knows? Time it out, right? Graphic designers or freelancers or independent contractors, they put a lot of time towards their work. We're going to learn about that in the next lesson when we do value-based pricing. Time is money, okay? And so we'll talk about that. Plan for some connecting with other people, collaboration, especially when it comes to remote work. So we just said we can't be in our own little worlds. We need to connect, whether it's on social media, through GroupMe, through through games, whatever the case, right? In-person preferred, FaceTime preferred. We want to see people face to face and have that interaction time. Very, very helpful. Hopefully away from Zoom. In person is better. Okay. Plan things out. Okay. I know it's kind of obvious saying these things, right? But use your calendar. You guys, everyone has a calendar on their mobile phones. Utilize it. Canvas has a calendar. Look at it. Put those things into play. Google, Macs have calendar, iCalendar, the calendar app, right? And so use those tools, and you'll be surprised how little things like alerts come in real handy, right? And you can now put timers on your alerts. You can say, before this time, alert me 3 days, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks before in advance, okay? Communication skills, right? You definitely want it to still kind of connect with people, try to practice with in your field. You're taking this class, that's an indication that you are fine-tuning your visual communication skills, right? So keep learning in this class and beyond, okay? Keep going. And when we get into Illustrator, I'll show you where there's like a tutorial tool where you can learn with the updates that are coming in October, okay? Set goals, deadlines, okay? Obviously we're learning that, so we want to make sure that if you got a goal, put a due date on it, and then you know where it's at. Okay. All right. So before we do break, I'm actually going to do break and release you to the exercise. So we don't actually have to connect back in 10 minutes. We can actually connect back in about 30 minutes to 45 minutes just to kind of see your design and workspace. So we're actually probably going to be finished a little bit early today, just because I knocked out the learning how to learn lesson. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. You guys are going to basically roll out this exercise. Okay. And I'm going to give you a button here, which is a Google form, and you're going to basically get your space organized and take a picture of it. Okay. And, you know, it doesn't have to be crazy, doesn't have to be perfect, but you're going to take a picture of it tonight. Okay. And this is how I'm going to know who's at work and who's at home. So I'm going to know right now in a few minutes through DMs, hey, like who's actually taking the class seriously. And maybe you have to work for really important reasons. That's cool. But just let me know. Let me know. Okay. So here's the breakdown. All you got to do is enter your name. You're going to click here to upload a photo of your workspace. Okay. And I'm going to put it in the chat, the link, so that you can upload it through your computer, or you can text it to yourself, email yourself, upload it, and use your phone by clicking onto the link or emailing the link to yourself, and you can pull it up that way. Okay. But I really want to make sure that everyone's space is looking distraction-free as possible. Okay. So let me go ahead and put the link here. This is going to be the digital illustration workspace tips, or the workspace upload link. And let me go ahead and do Command 0 for a second. Copy, paste. Okay, so there's a link there. And what we're going to do is basically try to organize your space as best as you can. Okay. You know, if you don't have a dual screen, don't worry about it. Okay. But we do want to get at least a distraction-free environment. Okay. Some type of computer. Okay. And maybe some lighting preferred. If you have it, we're gonna figure it out. But let's get organized. Let's see what this workspace looks like. Okay. And you're gonna upload a picture of it. And in about 45 minutes, let's just kind of time it for 8:45. We'll connect back, and then we'll take a look at of your spaces and kind of break down, answer any questions. Okay. And then we'll do it like that. And then what I'll do for the remaining time is I'm basically going to do a little bit of troubleshooting and see who is not installed with Adobe Illustrator. And then we're just going to kind of work through that process. Okay. So I'm going to collect emails. I'm going to collect some names, and then I'm going to start sending it messages to Adobe so that we can get your emails reset. Your Adobe Illustrators push through and everything. So we're going to use the time to get that workspace ready, so that we're ready to go into Illustrator after we do the value-based design and principles of design, everything of that sort. I really want to get that program up and running right away. Okay. Does that work for everyone? If it does, you can give me a little thumbs up emoji just to make sure that it's working for everybody. Okay. So we're just getting our spaces situated. We're getting everything situated in preparation for when we launch this app. Okay. And we want to make sure that we get that going. Okay. Sounds good. Cool. All right. Perfect. It's 8:06. Let's just put it into, let's just go, let's see, 45 minutes, and it's about 56. Top of the hour, 9 o'clock. Is that okay for everybody? Let's just go 9 o'clock. Give everybody a little bit of an extended break. Get your space set up. Take a picture. We'll see Adobe Illustrator. We'll get that situated and everything of that sort. Okay. Do you have to be online in Zoom? Nope. You could totally log off, get everything situated, and log back on at 9 o'clock if that works for you. Okay. But I will keep this link on for that time just in case. But you can definitely log out and get everything situated if you need to. Okay. All right. Sound good. All right, guys. We will see you at 9 o'clock. Okay, let's get our spaces organized. Can't wait to see all the pictures. Okay, we'll see you then. I'm gonna put on pause. All right,
So just to clarify,
before I begin. Okay, all right, guys. So we're back, and we're going to just take a quick peek. And if you're still downloading your Adobe Illustrator program, then that is okay. It was all about your workspace and what you're working with. So I'm just going to take a peek at the folder and just see the names really quickly. I'm not going to go deep into spaces, but I just want to just get a visual to see how much of we got in there for tonight. And it looks like a few folks are still working on the apps and downloads. Okay, great. So let's get a peek here. Storage capacity is fine. And let's move this over here off to the side. And already getting a little bit of a visual of some of your spaces and things of that sort. Okay, so let's take a peek and we'll just go from there. Let's go down the list and get a couple of images there. Okay, cool. So it looks like we're uploading and getting a little bit delayed. Okay, so okay, very cool. So someone's got some spaces there. Dual screen. Okay, great. Okay, Wacom tablets. I see a couple things flown here, which is good. Okay. It's interesting. For some of you guys, I'm sure this is like the first time you've probably organized in a minute. So, so very cool there. Okay, great. These are basically looking pretty good. And okay, so for the most part, everyone's got some setups there. Okay, anyone not upload or still working on uploads by any chance? You can maybe a little thumbs up emoji or things of that sort. Okay. Let me get a quick picture here. And loading the responses there. Okay, great. Okay, so these are looking pretty good, guys. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. And we're going to try to keep the space as organized as possible. And hopefully it's as distraction free as it can possibly be. So that's the hope, that we can kind of keep that going throughout the class. Okay. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for uploading it. So it's looking pretty good. And then with regards to Adobe Illustrator, okay, and if you're about to load it up, that's okay. Just keep them coming in, and it'll basically reload on my side as like the time goes, as the class goes on. So thank you for doing that. Really appreciate that. And yeah, just keep on sending them in, and then I'll still receive them on our side as it comes in. So it'll save a little bit of time on the systems. Okay. All right. If you haven't uploaded it, then that's okay. You can upload after class. That's fine. As long as you just get an image in, that's totally okay. Okay. You could even take the link, and you can email it to yourself. And that's a great way to load it into your browser on your phone, and then just click the link and access your phone, your photos. So there's even that way of doing that as well. So there's that route. Okay. Yep, looking good. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and keep on uploading them, and then we'll continue from there. All right, let's take a look here. Okay, other questions we have is Adobe Illustrator. Okay, so for the folks, I have a few folks that are saying that they're still downloading. On there, how many of you guys have sort of begun the process of downloading the Adobe Illustrator app? Just want to get a visual for that. And you can email a thumbs up emoji, but how many of you guys are currently still like downloading it? Currently downloading it? You can give me a thumbs up emoji. I just want to see who's still downloading it there. Okay. How many of you guys have already successfully logged in and launched the program? Just want to get a thumbs up emoji, because that's going to be a little different as well. Because if you open it and launch it and it shows an interface, then that would be super successful. Okay. So that's about 6 of us. Okay, so okay, I'm a little concerned here. So I got almost half the class, but that has successfully loaded it, and the other half that hasn't mentioned it. If you have some plans to still download the system, let's see already. Okay, so if you have not downloaded it, let's make some plans to do so. Okay, in Canvas, we do have the instructions on how to get your program downloaded. So you're going to definitely redirect yourself to the download Adobe Creative Cloud installation. Okay, that's going to be this link. You want to definitely start to get the download process set up. Okay, so if you have an older version of the program, you might need to delete your older version of the program in order to get that started. So Adobe Creative Cloud installation, okay? You'd want to definitely start the process of downloading it, so that if it doesn't, then it's probably the space on your computer, or you need to upgrade or change computers because it might be too old. So don't wait. I would say definitely get that process started and going. Okay, so that's going to be the format there, so we can get you rocking and rolling. So the link here is clearly giving instructions on how you can do that. Okay, and it shows those steps. You can scroll down and you can basically hit play, or you can link or click onto the PDF file and download it and open it. But basically, it's going to use your Rio Hondo email to basically give you an invitation to enter the system. So you have to go into your Rio Hondo email to look for a message from Adobe, basically saying that we are complete with your account and you have to install. Okay. So if you haven't received it and you're enrolled in the class, check your spam folder. Okay, check the trash. Make sure it's not in the spam folder of your email or your school email. Okay, and if you just added the course, okay, then you definitely got to shoot me an email or let me know, or send me a direct message of your email and student number, because now we have to add you to a list to get the program. Okay, so that's the other component as well. So we have to get you set up. All right, so if you haven't downloaded it, go ahead and start downloading it this evening. And install it, go through the installation, and I'll answer any questions moving forward from there. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to definitely give you guys some time to be released, because I don't want to keep everybody sitting around that's already completed it. So for those folks that have already uploaded their photos, thanks for doing that, guys. I appreciate it. If you've already made the installation to the program, great. Another item that's checked off. The assignment of habits, or the Power of Habit presentation. You're going to work on that basically between now and next week. So it's more than enough time. But you're going to do the last 2 slides of the presentation, where you take an old habit, bad habit, and then you reframe it to a new habit. Identify your cue, routine, and reward. Okay. And basically try to break it down to what is the craving that you so desire. And then you'll share the link, post it onto Canvas, followed in part by your discussion post. So make sure that you do the discussion for the week as well. And that's a short, like 6-minute video that kind of gives you a nice introduction. So discussion, activity, these are the 2 things we're going to be doing. Okay. And that's worth 10 points. Discussion, due September 9th, and then 20 points, habit formation exercise, due September 9th, next Thursday. Okay. More than enough time from there. So we're going to make sure that we get that going. Okay. Practical next steps. Next session, we're going to talk about the value-based pricing exercise. So that's going to basically be how to price your design how to highly price your graphic designs. For those folks that want to do this or may potentially have it, it's good to know. It's good to understand the workings. If your desire is to work at a studio, it's very valuable to know what studios are charging or how they're calculating, because then you can kind of calculate what your potential take home could be. So, so the higher the number, the better, and the greater the chance of you benefiting and netting some of that in your salary or in your future projects if you decide to go solo or do a small business or small studio. It's beneficial at all levels of your journey in this field. Okay, top institutions teach this. Some of them are classes in and of themselves. We just do one lesson. Okay, so I will kind of forewarn you that next week you will be on camera, not with me, but with each other. So next Tuesday, you're gonna do some negotiation. So you're actually gonna get real practical and you're gonna negotiate. And I'm gonna try to pair you guys up accordingly based on what our brief meeting on Tuesday when we got to meet each other. So I'm gonna try my best to pair people up accordingly for Tuesday, okay? So get ready. You're gonna do a run through of a negotiation exercise. We're gonna negotiate on pricing, but I'm gonna download some information on what to price and how to price. And then we're gonna put a little practice to it, show you the numbers and how to generate contracts, things of that sort, okay? So that's gonna be on Tuesday. And then on Thursday next week, we'll get to talk a little about principles of design, and finally get to look a little bit more on how designers see art and design and how they deconstruct it to build their graphics and whatnot. So it's gonna be a deconstruction and analytical sort of lesson and flow, okay? So it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be interesting, and it's gonna be very engaging, and I look forward to possibly negotiating with one of you just to even out the numbers. So it all depends on who shows up that day, okay? All right, guys. All right, so if you've already met those accomplishments, guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and dismiss you. We will stick around if you're having any technical issues, questions, or if I ask you to stay. And we'll shut off the recording, of course, to keep privacy going. And we will see you then on Tuesday, okay? So be safe. All right, have a good 3-day Labor Day weekend, and we'll kick it off on Tuesday, okay? All right, guys, you are dismissed. We'll see you then.
Okay, Professor.
Bye, thank you.
No worries, thanks, guys. Bye, Laker. We'll see you soon.
All right.
All right, and we will pause. And
Thank you, Professor. Have a good night.
you too, guys. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you then, okay?